Picture this. Your wife is lying in a hospital bed. She just gave birth 2 hours ago. You are standing in the hallway, exhausted but happy, holding your newborn baby for the very first time. Then the elevator doors open. Two men in dark jackets walk toward you. They are not doctors. They are not nurses. One of them looks directly at you and says, "Are you your name? We need to talk." They are ICE agents inside the hospital, on the maternity floor, and your entire world, your wife, your baby, your life in America, is suddenly on the line. You might think this could never happen. You might think hospitals are safe. You might think ICE does not go into medical buildings. But here's the truth that thousands of immigrants are learning the hard way in 2026. ICE can enter a hospital. ICE has entered hospitals. And if you do not know your rights right now, today, you could be arrested, detained, and deported before your newborn child even leaves the hospital. My name is Tariq, and in the next 13 minutes, I am going to tell you everything. The law, the loopholes, the exact words you need to say, and the one document that could save your life. Because what I am about to share, immigration lawyers charge $400 an hour for this information. Let's go. To understand what is happening right now in 2026, you need to understand how we got here. For decades, the United States government maintained what was known as a sensitive locations policy. This was an internal rule, not a law but a policy, that instructed ICE and other enforcement agencies to avoid making arrests at certain locations. These sensitive locations included hospitals and medical clinics, schools and universities, churches and mosques, funerals and weddings, and public demonstrations. The idea was simple. People should be able to access healthcare, education, and religious services without fear of immigration enforcement. Even if someone was undocumented, they should be able to take their child to the emergency room without being arrested in the waiting area. This policy was not perfect. It had exceptions. But for years, it provided a basic level of protection that most immigrants relied on, often without even knowing it existed. Then, on January 20th, 2025, everything changed. One of the very first executive actions signed after the new administration took office was the complete elimination of the sensitive locations policy. Gone. Completely removed. ICE agents were now authorized to conduct enforcement operations anywhere. Schools, churches, and yes, hospitals. The announcement sent shockwaves through immigrant communities across the country. Advocates warned that sick people would stop seeking medical care. Pregnant women would give birth at home rather than risk going to a hospital. Children would be left untreated because parents were too afraid to walk through the emergency room doors. And in 2026, those fears have become reality. So the question is no longer, can ICE enter a hospital? The question now is, what are your rights when they do? Here is where most people get confused, and where that confusion becomes dangerous. A lot of immigrants hear that the sensitive locations policy is gone, and they think, I have no protection. If ICE shows up, it is over. That is not true. The sensitive locations policy was a government choice about where to focus enforcement. But your constitutional rights are not a government choice. They exist regardless of where you are standing, including inside a hospital. Let me break this down clearly. The Fourth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution protects every person on American soil, citizen or not, from unreasonable searches and seizures. This means ICE cannot simply walk into a hospital room, grab someone, and drag them out without proper legal authority. To arrest you, ICE generally needs one of two things. First, a judicial warrant. This is a warrant signed by an actual judge which authorizes them to arrest a specific person. Second, they personally witness you committing a crime, or they have probable cause to believe you have committed one. Here's what ICE often uses instead: an administrative warrant, also called a Form I-200 or I-205. This is not signed by a judge. It is an internal government document. And critically, it does not give ICE the authority to enter a private space without your consent. A hospital room is a private space. This distinction, judicial warrant versus administrative warrant, is one of the most important things you will ever learn about your rights. And we are going to come back to it. The Fifth Amendment protects you from self-incrimination. You are not required to answer questions about your immigration status. You are not required to tell ICE where you were born. You are not required to confirm or deny anything. This right applies whether you are on a street corner or lying in a hospital bed. And if you are detained, you have the right to speak with an attorney before answering questions. You can say, "I want to speak to a lawyer before I say anything." These three rights, protection from unreasonable search and seizure, the right to remain silent, the right to an attorney, do not disappear when you walk through hospital doors. But knowing these rights means nothing if you do not know how to exercise them under pressure. Let me walk you through three real scenarios that are happening right now. Each one requires a different response, and if you handle any of them wrong, the consequences can be devastating. First scenario, you are in the hospital waiting room, or the hallway, or the parking lot. An ICE agent approaches you and says, "Excuse me, can I ask you a few questions?" This is a voluntary encounter. You are not under arrest. You have the right to walk away. Most people do not know this. They stop. They start answering questions. They say too much. Here's what you do. Calmly say, "Am I free to go?" If the agent says yes, walk away. Do not run. Do not argue. Simply leave. If the agent says no, you are now being detained. That changes everything. And we will cover what to do in that situation in just a moment. Second scenario, you or a family member is a patient. ICE agents appear at the hospital room door. First, do not panic. Stay calm. Your reaction in the first 30 seconds sets the tone for everything that follows. Ask clearly and firmly, "Do you have a judicial warrant signed by a judge?" If they say yes, ask to see it. Look at it carefully. Does it have a judge's signature? Does it have your correct name? Does it reference the correct location? If they say no, or if they show you only an administrative warrant, you have the right to refuse entry into the room. Say, "I do not consent to your entry. I am invoking my Fourth Amendment rights." Then say nothing else. Do not explain. Do not apologize. Do not try to convince them of anything. Third scenario, ICE moves to physically arrest you or a family member. Do not resist physically. Physical resistance leads to additional charges and makes your legal situation significantly worse. Instead, say clearly, "I do not consent to this arrest. I am invoking my right to remain silent. I want to speak to an attorney immediately." Then, stay silent. Every word you say from that point forward can be used against you in immigration court. Now let me give you something concrete, something you can memorize right now and use in any situation. 5 sentences. These are your shield. Sentence 1. Am I free to go? Use this when you are approached but not yet detained. Sentence 2. I do not consent to this search. Use this if they attempt to enter a private space or search your belongings. Sentence 3. I am invoking my right to remain silent. Say this the moment you feel the situation becoming serious. Then, stop talking. Sentence 4. I want to speak to an attorney before answering any questions. This single sentence can pause an entire interrogation. Legally, once you invoke your right to counsel, agents are supposed to stop questioning you. Sentence 5. I do not consent to this arrest. This does not physically stop an arrest, but it creates a legal record that you did not cooperate voluntarily, which matters enormously in immigration court. Practice these 5 sentences. Say them out loud right now. Write them on a piece of paper and keep it in your wallet. Because under pressure in a terrifying moment, your brain will go blank. These words need to be automatic. Now I want to tell you about something that most immigrants have never heard of. But that could be the single most powerful tool you have. It is called a Know Your Rights card, sometimes called a red card. Organizations like the ACLU and the National Immigration Law Center produce these cards in multiple languages. They state your constitutional rights clearly and instruct law enforcement that you are invoking those rights. But here's the one document I specifically want you to create for yourself. It is called a confidentiality statement for medical settings. Here's how it works. You give this document to the hospital staff when you check in. It instructs the hospital that your presence, your room location, and your personal information are not to be shared with anyone, including law enforcement, without a judicial warrant. Hospitals have their own legal obligations around patient privacy. Federal law, specifically HIPAA, restricts hospitals from sharing patient information without consent. By giving this document to hospital staff up front, you are activating those protections in your favor. This does not make you invisible, but it creates an additional legal barrier between you and ICE, and it puts the hospital on notice that your rights are to be protected. You can find templates for this document through immigrant rights organizations in your city. I will leave links in the description below. Here is something that surprises many people. Hospitals are not required to cooperate with ICE. Most hospitals in the United States have their own policies around immigration enforcement. Many major hospital systems, especially in large cities, have declared themselves sanctuary health facilities. This means their staff will not voluntarily assist ICE in locating or detaining patients. However, and this is important, hospitals are required to comply with a valid judicial warrant. If ICE arrives with a warrant signed by a federal judge that names you specifically, the hospital cannot block that. What a hospital can do: ask ICE agents for their credentials and the nature of their warrant before allowing access to patient areas, notify the patient and their family that law enforcement is present, and contact hospital legal counsel before granting access to medical records. What a hospital cannot do: physically obstruct a lawful arrest or hide records when presented with a valid judicial warrant. So, your strategy when entering any hospital as an immigrant in 2026 is this: speak to the patient advocate or the admissions staff immediately. Ask about the hospital's policy on immigration enforcement. Provide your confidentiality statement, and have the name and phone number of an immigration attorney written down somewhere physical, not just in your phone, in case your phone is taken from you. Now, if the worst happens, if ICE actually takes you into custody, here is your step-by-step plan. Stay calm. I know this feels impossible. But panic leads to mistakes. Mistakes lead to statements. Statements lead to deportation. Say clearly, I am invoking my right to remain silent and my right to an attorney. Then, do not say another word about your immigration status, your country of birth, how long you have been in the U.S., or anything else. Do not sign anything. ICE may present you with a form and tell you it is routine paperwork. Some of these forms are voluntary departure agreements, meaning if you sign them, you are agreeing to leave the country voluntarily. Do not sign without an attorney present. Try to memorize or write down the name and badge number of the arresting agent. This information will be critical for your attorney. As soon as you are allowed to make a phone call, contact an immigration attorney or a trusted person who can contact one on your behalf. Many cities have emergency immigration hotlines that operate 24 hours a day. And if you are transferred to a detention facility, you have the right to a hearing before an immigration judge. You are not required to accept deportation without that hearing. Say clearly, I request a hearing before an immigration judge. Let me be direct with you. The world has changed. The protections that many immigrants silently relied on for years have been stripped away. The sensitive locations policy is gone. ICE has broader authority than at any point in recent memory. But your constitutional rights are still standing, and knowledge of those rights is the most powerful protection you have. Here is your action plan starting today. Write down those 5 sentences and keep them with you at all times. Put them in your wallet. Share them with every member of your family. Find an immigration attorney in your city before you ever need one. Save their number, write it down on paper, give it to a trusted family member. Research your local hospital's policy on immigration enforcement. Call them, ask directly. Know what to expect before an emergency forces you through their doors. Download a Know Your Rights card in your language. Organizations like the ACLU and the National Immigration Law Center offer these completely free. And share this video right now. Send it to your family group chat, post it in your community. This information could save a life, and I mean that literally. Subscribe to this channel. Every time the law changes, every time a new risk appears, I will be here to break it down for you in plain language. Leave a comment below. Tell me your situation. Are you worried about hospital safety? Have you or someone you know had an encounter with ICE? I read every single comment and I make videos specifically to answer your questions. You came to this country to build something, to give your family a better life, to work hard and contribute to your community. You deserve to live without fear. You deserve to know your rights, and now you do. Stay protected, stay informed. I will see you in the next one.